Hey, how you doing? Can you hear me?
Hi, yes, I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing fine. Thank you so much for coming on the platform. I really appreciate you. This is
N-
definitely an honor.
Not at all. It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Oh yeah,
How do
definitely,
how do
definitely.
I pronounce your name?
It's Tanye, like a tie, like
Taye.
you're tying your shoe.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. So we're gonna get right into it. For the viewers who may not recognize you, could you let them know who you are and definitely where you're from?
Sure. My name is Shweta Agarwal. I'm an author, an activist, and a speaker, raising awareness on colorism. And I was born in India. I was raised in Japan. Moved to Japan from the age of 8 to 18. I was there, and I have been living in the UK since the year 2000.
Wow. Okay. Okay. That's really really cool. Now I want to ask you. Now when did you develop this passion to write and become an activist? Was this something that you got into early on in life, or did you kind of get into it later on?
Much later on, to be honest. I hated reading and writing as a child. I was one of those kids who would cheat on her writing assignments. um, and this is something that was born out of self reflection and something that was actually catharsis for me to begin with. I started writing The Black Rose for several reasons. One of them, I think you've already mentioned, this is actually, which I'm about to answer in advance. One of them is my awakening during the Black Lives Matter movement back in 2020 after the brutal murder of George Floyd. The second one, as I mentioned, out of that came the need for cathartic healing. And then finally and thirdly, realizing that actually it's not just me. There are millions, if not billions, of people of color around the world who live with colorism in their lives on a daily basis, are traumatized by it, are made to feel inadequate because of their color. And so I knew that if I'm writing my story, it'll resonate with a lot more people. So these are the reasons why I started writing. But yeah, the passion as such, or the desire to want to write something like The Black Rose, um, was really inspired by the Black Lives Matter movement, and in the year 2020, and everything from that day on is, as I say, the rest is history.
Wow, that's really amazing because you take for granted sometimes some of the things you go through, where you're living and how they could ultimately affect people around the world. In particular, the
Hmm.
case of George Floyd. Now, I can ask you, where were you living at the time of the protest?
In London, and I attended one of
Oh,
the very last protests in London on the 20th of June.
okay, okay. Now I can ask you about London in particular. Do you feel as though uh, is racism as much of an issue as it is, compared to what you're seeing, after the death of George Floyd and the things that go on in America? Is it similar? Is it significantly different?
To be honest, it's very hard for me to comment on that because I don't live in America, so I don't experience it or see it on a daily basis. So I wouldn't be able to comment, and if I did, it wouldn't be fair. I can only say that I do hear a lot more about racism in America being prevalent and quite overt. Um, in the UK, I'm sure there is racism around the country. In London, as such, it's a very integrated society. So I see less of it in London as one of the biggest capitals, of the world, essentially, right? But of course, there is racism everywhere. There is subtle racism. There's overt racism. You hear about it. You see it. You can't help but think it's racist when it's a racist attack, or the intention was to do with racial abuse when you hear about a murder of a person of color. So sadly, it's the world that we live in.
Yeah, yeah, that's very true. I'm a world traveler. I've been to about 70 countries, and I can understand, things can be different in different countries. I got a chance to live in a few other countries as well. Now, I can
Mm.
ask you about the places you have lived. Did you see a significant difference between, say, maybe the UK, Japan, and India in terms of colorism and how people may have treated you?
Yeah, so different but the same, if you know what I mean, because the colorism narrative across the world is the same. And the perceptions of colorism are that light skin is uh, superior, essentially, in every sense. And it's, light skin is seen as desirable, it's seen as beautiful, it's seen as a status of wealth. It's seen as the perception is that you're more intelligent if you're lighter, you're more educated if you're lighter. So all these perceptions that colorism has bring us to what we see around the world everywhere, essentially, which is classism, right? In Japan, the colorism narrative is prevalent because of classism. As such, the narrative that they follow, or I would like, I don't, this is a strong word to use, but I guess it's what they go by, so it's what they believe, is that if you are of a darker skin tone, then you belong to a poorer class or a poorer family, or peasants working out in the fields, etc. The same goes for colonial times, right? That's the narrative that was very much kind of practiced on a daily basis or believed in. And likewise, in India, colorism is still very prevalent, sadly, because of, colonialistic ideologies and casteism as well. So again, the lighter your skin, you're likely to be from a higher caste. You're likely to be of a higher social status. You're seen as more beautiful. Skin whitening products that are sold in the country and in Japan, not just in India, are sold to primarily women, using the kind of beauty narrative and the beauty standards narrative to target women, to push them to use these products for them to be more beautiful, more desirable. So that narrative, I have to say, the very first one, that light skin is beautiful, fair is beautiful, as per a lot of skin whitening creams that you see around the world, not just in India or Japan. I traveled to Turkey, I traveled to Egypt, I saw skin whitening products sold widely there. I traveled to Thailand, skin whitening products were sold widely there. The fair is beautiful narrative is, I would say, by far the most widespread, most abused narrative by the skin whitening industry to sell what they want to sell to their female market.
Yeah, definitely. You made some very interesting points. And I can speak for myself, being an African American, a lot of times we struggle to know our own history, let alone the history of the world, and we don't realize that colonialism and slavery was a global thing. So people in India went through something similar that we went through. People in Jamaica and Brazil went through something similar that we went through. So most of the countries that I visit, like you say, the whiter you are, you're in the higher class. Like I studied abroad in Dominican Republic. The average Dominican was brown skin, my color, maybe a little darker, maybe a little lighter. But the tourist areas, the commercials, the ads, the college campus, the professors, you'll see lighter Dominicans or even white Dominicans. The people that took out the trash, the people that worked in the cafeteria, the people that cleaned the bathrooms, the security guards, they were all dark skinned people, so
Yeah.
it was very,
I mean, Japan was never colonized, but growing up in Japan, I saw colorism being practiced there overtly with skin whitening products and the beauty narrative. I guess it somehow demonstrates how it's not just about colonialistic ideologies, but somehow the narrative that light skin is a symbol of class, upper class, has somehow traveled across the world.
Yeah, definitely. Like you say, it's so much at stake now to where it's probably $1 billion industry because when I did visit Asia, like you said, places like Thailand and the Philippines, it seems like they have entire aisles of skin lightening or skin bleaching or whatever you want to call it products. And when I buy lotion or soap, I have to really take my time. Even in Africa, I have to really look at what I'm buying because it might affect my skin. You know what I'm saying? It's so normal.
Yeah. So the skin whitening industry, the global industry, was valued at $8 billion in 2020. $8 billion. And it's projected to increase to $12 billion by 2026.
Wow. Okay. So yeah, it's sad, but it's like, go ahead.
It's a huge industry, huge. And the problem is worsening. It's not getting any better. There are lots of people that will fight back any anti-colorism activism by saying it's not a problem anymore. You know, those were different days and things have changed now. But the skin whitening industry and its growth proves otherwise, that actually the problem is worsening, not getting better.
Yeah, definitely. Now I can ask you this. Now I'm speaking from an African American perspective, and I know what our perception of Black, it varies amongst ourselves. You know, if you ask 10 African Americans what color they are or what they are, you're going to get a variety of answers. And I guess that's, you know, across different cultural groups, you may ask, are you Black? And they say no or yes. Are you African American? And they say, yes, I'm proud to be an African American. And some may say, I'm not African at all. And I've seen that in different countries. And I wanted to ask you in particular, in India, are dark-skinned people considered Black people, or is there a different category for people of darker skin? Because growing up in America, we learn about people like Marcus Garvey. He was a Black nationalist, and he had Indians in the UNIA. Or we look at people like Malcolm X, and he spoke of Indian people as being Black people. But what is the actual perception of a dark-skinned person in India? Because Indians have very beautiful dark skin. They're some of the darkest people in the world that I've ever seen.
You're absolutely right. So Indians come in a variety of shades, from being very melanated, beautiful dark skin, as you said, to being very light. You know, light kind of the Aryan race, European light. So the reason being is because India has been conquered millennia after millennia by various rulers and various races. And so when I say we come in a variety of shades, we actually do, but we also see the difference from northern part of India being very light skinned, even light eyes, blue eyes, light hair, to very dark, melanated, beautiful skin when you go towards the south. South India, when you see that dark skin tone, actually the South Indian community are the Dravidian Indians. And they were the original Indians who were already in India at the time when India was conquered, and then conquered repeatedly over and over again. And they were gradually pushed down by the Aryans towards the south. So, and then of course, when we had the British colonize India, they colonized various parts of India. So you've got the kind of mixed skin tones, you know, still, right, in India. So dark skin is, unfortunately, it's the biggest irony, to be honest, when you see colorism in India, because, you know, if you really want to argue, then you can say that, well, actually, they are the original Indians, right? The darker skinned Indians are the original Indians. But unfortunately, it is something that, you know, people look down on. Anti-Blackness, for that reason, is an issue in India. And, you know, if you're dark-skinned, you're called the word Kala, which means black. So, yeah, it's quite shameful, to be honest.
Okay. Now I can ask you this. I guess it's like a current event. Um, the Vice President Harris, she made history. And like I say, in America, we have a global audience. So just to try to put it in perspective, in America, there's a debate about her race, but it's generally accepted that she is the first African American vice president, the first
Mhm.
woman vice president, the first Asian vice president, the first Indian vice president.
Mm.
Um, what is your perspective on that in terms of somebody that lived in India? Is Vice President Harris recognized and celebrated
Mm.
as an Indian vice president?
I mean, representation is everything, right? Um, we can't underestimate the power of representation. We can't trivialize the power of representation because you feel seen, you feel like you belong. And so, on that front, I think there is no question if she wins the election and she becomes the president, then that is history, that she's making history as the first female president, but also the first African American and African American Indian president. So there is no question that she will make history. And, it's going to be a very proud moment for all of us, for people of color around the world, women in particular. But having said that, I do believe in meritocracy. And all I would like to say is, may the best candidate win.
Okay. Now I can ask you this: if you could speak, if it's okay to speak about some of your experiences as a child.
Mm.
Um, have you experienced bullying? Because, like I know in America, even within the black community, there is colorism. We bully each other, and
Mhm.
obviously it does stem from slavery and colonialism. But you will see, like, I don't know if you're familiar with it, they have this Barbie doll test, and they'll say, they'll say, they'll ask black children, they'll ask white children, they'll ask Latino children, Asian children, and then they'll
Mm.
say, which doll is the dumb doll? It's the black doll. Which doll is the smart doll? It's the white doll. Which doll is the,
Really?
pretty doll? Which doll is the mean doll? Which
Mm.
doll is whatever? And
Mm.
ultimately, all of the children, the majority of the children will say the negative aspects are the black doll and the positive aspects
Yeah.
are the white doll. These children may be 5 years old. They're
Mm.
not even, they're not consciously making these decisions, but within 5 years, they've already have an understanding of
Mhm.
where people fit in society based upon their skin tone.
Yeah. Yeah, it is really quite sad and upsetting to hear when the colorism narrative, becomes so deeply ingrained, especially with young children, right? And it begins, to be honest, from the day you're born. Like the first thing that's discussed in your family is your color. Oh, what a beautiful baby. Why beautiful? Because the baby's light skinned. Oh, what happened to the baby? Oh, the baby took the mother's color. Or, why not the father's color? Because the mother is darker skinned and it's like seen as something like, pitiful, right? Um, I started to feel um, upset and hurt and started to understand colorist tones from the age of 6. I'm sure they go further back. I just didn't understand them. From the age of 6, I started to really understand what colorism means because I am, the skin tone that I am right now, but actually as a child, I was far, far darker than I am right now. And my parents, on the other hand, are the lightest Indians you can ever get. So my father didn't even look Indian, he looked Italian. He was extremely light, brown eyes, jet black hair. My mother was very light. My little brother, is very light. So I was seen as the black sheep of the family. And I heard taunts from extended family members when my parents moved to Japan to start a new life and start a new business. They enrolled me in a boarding school in India because they couldn't afford my education back then. So, for the couple of years that I was in India on my own as a 6-year-old child in a boarding school, already feeling that sense of abandonment, I was told by extended members of the family that my parents left me behind because they're ashamed of my color. And it started at that point. Then when I moved to Japan finally, and I was in an international school in Japan, I was bullied by none other than brown boys. I was called the ugly duckling. I was called the black sheep. I was called Blackie. So unfortunately, as you said, it happens within the community. That is literally the definition of colorism, right? Discrimination or prejudice faced by individuals of a dark skin tone, particularly within their ethnic race or group or community. And that's exactly what it is. That's what I faced. And it's traumatizing. It's upsetting, psychologically. It impacts the child. And then even in your, adulthood, obviously that, travels through with you, and you see yourself, you start to see yourself as less beautiful, or, you don't have the confidence in yourself. You start to see yourself as less capable or less worthy of a certain career, for example, like in the media or in, wanting to be an actress, which I wanted to be an actress. I wanted to be a Bollywood actress because I love dancing and singing. But when you're told that you can't, and it's better not to dream of that because you're too dark to be one, you feel less worthy. So it's the impact of colorism on one's mental health is far greater than what we think it is.
Okay. I appreciate you sharing that. Now I can ask you, are there any physical ramifications that you know of, like, lightening or bleaching your skin?
Yeah, there are so many, horrible health implications actually that come out of using skin whitening products long term, bleaching in particular. Skin whitening creams also have something called hydroquinone, which again is a chemical, or like a type of, I think like a steroid maybe, that over long term can impact your kidneys. And you're starting to see that now after 30, 40 years of use of skin whitening creams around the world. People are starting to report kidney problems, kidney failure. Infertility is one of them. Cancer, liver cancer, skin cancer. If you bleach regularly, you can start to burn your skin. You can start to, skin whitening creams can make your skin thinner and therefore more prone to burning when you're out in the sun. So there are a lot of health implications that come with it, with the use of these products. Unfortunately, there isn't enough awareness, and people aren't educated enough to understand. They are not being educated enough, rather, to understand these implications. So I think it's very, very important for us to start raising awareness on this, because the products are sold so widely and are endorsed by huge celebrities in India, definitely. I see big celebrities endorsing skin whitening creams in East Asia as well. I can't say anything about Africa or other countries that I haven't seen or I don't know the celebrities. But because they're endorsed by celebrities, people blindly buy them. They blindly follow them. And they don't care to think, let's have a look at the back of the product and see what the ingredients are. Or there's no health warning on these products. Like, for cigarettes, there is a warning, right? There's no warning on these products. So people don't know what they're really applying, what they're using. They're just thinking they're being sold the the fair is beautiful narrative, and they want that. And because it's being endorsed by celebrities, they think, well, how wrong can it be? That's exactly what I did. I started using it at the age of 11 because it was being endorsed by massive Bollywood celebrities. And I thought, well, everybody's doing it. Beauty parlors are offering you bleaching, as a treatment, skin whitening, facials as a treatment. Everybody's wearing this particular cream. How wrong can it be? But it is terrible.
Okay. Now, have you received any, backlash or pushback from people, from your own community or other communities about, the things that you are speaking about in terms of, skin lightening and skin color?
So, I mean, the good news is that the work that I'm doing is, makes me feel very proud that I'm raising awareness on colorism, and a lot of people are actually appreciating that, and it's resonating with a lot of people because they are going through it themselves, or they have been through it, and they are unlearning colorism, and they are starting to feel more confident in their own skin. So I'm really, really glad that my book, my work, is helping people feel more confident in their own skin and helping them heal. It's also educating perpetrators of colorism to understand that words are not just words. When you're teasing somebody or making fun of them just for their skin tone, it's a lot deeper than that. It's not a joke, as a lot of perpetrators justify colorism tones as, right? On the other hand, surprisingly, I didn't think that there should be any backlash, but yeah, there are people out there who still think that, fair is beautiful, light skin is beautiful, and that's how it should be. And if you are dark skinned, then you're ugly. And, I've had backlash where people have, if I've called out a celebrity, because they are blind followers of the celebrity, I've had backlash from people and criticism and comments where they say, well, oh, you're just jealous because you're not fair or you're not light skinned and you should go back to using skin whitening products. It is quite upsetting and quite sad that some people just don't seem to understand how unjust it is, how wrong it is, especially when it comes from within your community. But there will always be, right, I suppose.
Yeah, definitely. Now, can I ask you, have you considered doing a documentary? I mean, it seemed like this would be an awesome topic, and it could be, inspiring and life changing for a lot of people globally.
I would absolutely love to do one. The Black Rose is, changing people's mindsets. It's touching people. So I'm very proud that my personal story has helped others, and I want to continue to help others. So yes, if there is some sort of visual form that the Black Rose takes and therefore is able to reach more people, I would absolutely love that, because I think a personal story hits harder. It's people resonate with it more, right? I'm working on it, so watch this space.
Okay. Now, can I ask you, for people who want to follow you and keep up with what you're doing, they want to check out the book. What's the best way that they can show you support? Where can they go?
Thank you so much for asking. If you, firstly, thank you to all your listeners. Thank you so much for your time and for listening to me. I hope that some of my words were able to help you understand colorism, understand the severity of the issue, and also in some way, if you are going through colorism right now, please feel free to reach me on Unlearn with Shweta on Instagram or TikTok. It's Unlearn with Shweta. I have my book available on Amazon. It's called The Black Rose. It's available in Kindle format as well as paperback. And I'm also working on my audiobook. So hopefully that will be out soon. And thank you again for listening.
Yeah, definitely. I'm gonna have to check out that audio book. That's real cool. I definitely look forward to the documentary. I know you're gonna make it happen. And I want to take my hat off to you. I really appreciate the work that you're doing, because there's a lot of beautiful people out here. They just don't know. Some people, they just might need to just read that one book, because sometimes you read one book that could change your whole life. And I'm sure that already has happened with a lot of your readers. So I'm definitely looking forward to what you got coming in the future. Thank you so much for taking out the time to come on this platform.
Thank you, Taye. Really appreciate it. Thank you so much for having me.
All right, so take care until next time.
Take care. Bye-bye.